I was holding his suit when the folded piece of paper fell out, and that's when everything changed. We were 3 days away from our vow renewal. 7 years married, 10 together. I was steaming his jacket, humming, mentally reviewing the playlist for the dinner afterward. I reached into the inner pocket to remove lint or whatever, and that's when I felt it. A small, stiff paper, a receipt. I almost didn't look. Almost. But something in me said, look anyway. It was from a hotel 18 miles from our house. Dated, last Thursday. 10:42 p.m. check-in. 2 guests. Room service for 2. Dessert and champagne. I blinked at the paper like it was a foreign language. For a second, my brain tried to justify it. A surprise? A plan for us? But the time didn't fit. The dinner we had Thursday ended at 8. He said he was heading to a late-night gym session. He lied. And suddenly I wasn't a woman planning her vow renewal. I was a woman holding the first clue to her emotional collapse. I didn't confront him. Not then. I folded the receipt neatly, slid it into my wallet, and smiled when he walked through the door like nothing had happened. Because if he was going to lie to me with that much ease, I wanted to see just how far he was willing to go. He kissed my cheek and asked if I'd ordered the flower arches. I nodded. Said everything was set. He held me. Called me my forever. I didn't flinch. Just memorized the weight of the lie resting in his voice. My mom was thrilled about the vow renewal. Said it would rekindle the magic. She loved Eli. Everyone did. He was the man who brought flowers randomly, fixed her leaking sink, called her mom. She called him her other son. And she meant it. The next day, I watched Eli FaceTime with Taylor, his coworker. The screen reflected in the mirror. I saw her smile, heard her say, "Thursday was wild." I froze, my hands clenched under the kitchen table. He said, "Can't talk now," and ended the call like a kid caught sneaking cookies. He didn't see me watching, but I saw everything, and suddenly, the vow renewal wasn't a celebration. It was my stage. Eli wasn't the kind of guy I usually fell for. He was loud, magnetic, always the center of the room. I liked quiet, lists, plans. But he crashed into my world like a wave that refused to recede. And somehow, I let him stay. He made everything feel bigger, brighter. He made me feel chosen. We met at a friend's rooftop party. I was there out of obligation. He was the one doing magic tricks with napkins and flirting with the bartender. He sat next to me and said, "You look like someone who doesn't waste words." I didn't smile, but I stayed. That's how it started. He left notes on my windshield, showed up to my office with coffee, played the guitar even though he barely knew 4 chords. When I told him I liked poetry, he wrote me messy rhymes on Post-its, called me his muse. I taped everyone to my bathroom mirror like I was starring in a teenage love story. The proposal wasn't grand, just him, a candlelit dinner, and a nervous speech. But I cried, because he said things like, "You make me want to be good," and, "With you, I feel safe enough to try." I believed him, with my whole heart. Back then, I wanted to believe everyone who sounded that sincere. We got married under string lights in my aunt's backyard. I wore a dress that didn't quite fit, and shoes that blistered my feet. He cried reading his vows. My mom called it the most honest love she'd ever seen. I remember thinking, this is what forever should feel like. The early years were messy but sweet. We didn't have much. We fought about money, jobs, timing. But he always came home, always said sorry, always brought something small, a candy bar, a voice memo with our song. I thought that's what love was, effort, even when it's flawed. Then came the promotions, the better car, the bigger house. Eli started traveling more, started staying late at work. I told myself it was ambition, that men needed to provide, that he was doing it for us. But slowly, his words got shorter, his kisses got quicker, and the poems stopped. I remember our 6th anniversary. He forgot. We had Chinese takeout and watched reruns. I said nothing. Because by then, I was collecting moments in silence, not because I didn't feel them, but because I didn't want to disturb what little peace we had left. When I brought up a vow renewal, he actually lit up. Said, "That would be beautiful." I thought it meant something. Like maybe he missed us too. Maybe this was his way of returning to me. We planned everything together. Or at least I did, while he nodded. My mom got involved. She loved the symbolism. 7 years, God's number, she said. She believed in second starts, in romance. She believed in Eli, so did I, until I found the receipt. And suddenly all those poems, all those promises, felt like preludes to a betrayal I hadn't been ready to name. There were signs. I just didn't have names for them at the time. I thought I was being overly sensitive. He made sure I felt that way. Anytime I questioned his late nights, the shift in his tone, the texts he suddenly kept on silent, he'd tilt his head and say, "Babe, are you okay? You've been anxious lately." It always started with concern, then silence, then guilt. I stopped bringing things up because he made me feel like the crazy one, like I was digging for dirt that didn't exist. But the truth was, I wasn't. Paranoid. I was being gaslit with affection and half-truths. I noticed how he always changed in the downstairs bathroom after work. Said he didn't want to track gym sweat through the house. I told myself that was considerate. Until I found the cologne in his car that I didn't buy. Until he started showering before hugging me hello. His phone, once left on the counter without care, became a permanent accessory. Always face down. Always locked. One night, I reached for it to check the time and he snatched it like it was a loaded weapon. "You need to respect my privacy," he said. And suddenly, I was the problem. I started keeping score in my head. Not of what he did, but how often I swallowed my own instincts. How many times I apologized for asking questions I had every right to ask. He didn't lie in words. He lied in patterns, in disappearance, in excuses too polished to sound real. He became more generous, oddly. Flowers for no reason. An expensive necklace I hadn't asked for. He called it spontaneity. I called it overcompensation. It's funny how guilt can look like romance when you're desperate to believe in love. My mom noticed the shift too. Once asked, "Is Eli okay? He seems distracted lately." I defended him, said he was under pressure at work, that we were fine. She smiled, but her eyes lingered too long. I think she wanted to believe my words. I think I wanted her to believe, them even more than I did. When I suggested couples therapy, he laughed, said, "What would we even talk about? We're good." I nodded, even though my chest ached from holding back all the things I couldn't say out loud. And Taylor, she was always just a coworker, the kind who texted at midnight, who sent memes I wasn't copied on. Once, he mentioned she was going through a breakup and needed a friend. I asked why I wasn't that friend. He said I was being jealous. And again, I fell silent. He didn't deny it. He just made me feel guilty for asking. That's how manipulation works when it wears a smile. And by the time I realized what was happening, I wasn't just doubting him. I was doubting me. The vow renewal felt like a dream I was awake inside, but not part of. Everything looked perfect. Candlelit aisle, friends in pastels, my mom beaming like she was watching the fairy tale version of her own life replayed through me. she held, her phone up to record, narrating softly. Look at them. Still so in love. Eli stood at the end of the aisle in his tailored navy suit, the one I steamed 3 days ago. The same one that held the receipt. The receipt that hadn't just exposed the lie. It had buried it in a coffin lined with red silk sheets and 2 room service desserts. He smiled when he saw me, the kind of smile that makes strangers believe in love. And for a second I forgot. Forgot what I knew. Forgot how betrayal breathes. But then, I saw Taylor, standing in the second row, wearing a cream-wrapped dress like she belonged in our life. Like this was hers, too. My stomach turned. She had the audacity to show up, to watch me renew vows with the man who had checked into a hotel room with her days ago. My hands clenched around the bouquet. I reminded myself, this is the scene. Play it through, the officiant spoke. Eli took my hands, repeated words that should have meant something. Through all seasons I choose you again. I almost laughed, almost broke character. But instead, I looked him in the eye and whispered, Are you sure? He smiled like he thought I was nervous. Forever, he said. My mom caught that moment, zoomed in, giggled softly behind the lens. So sweet, she said. I wanted to scream, not at her, at all of it, at how betrayal can look like devotion when you don't know where to aim the camera. And then he kissed me, soft, public, staged, like a scene he'd rehearsed. My mom clapped, Taylor even smiled, and I stood there, lips touching the man who had erased me for room 214 and a bottle of hotel champagne. The reception followed. Toasts, laughter. My mom played the video on loop for the guests. Look how happy she looks, someone said. I smiled, nodded, said nothing. I watched the footage of us, frozen in a lie, and realized this wasn't love. It was branding. He held me on the dance floor. Said, This day feels like a second chance. I leaned in, whispered, It feels like the beginning of the end. He didn't hear it. Or maybe he thought I was being poetic. Either way, the seed was planted. And while he toasted with my mom, laughing, hugging her, I was already crafting the final scene, because the receipt wasn't just proof, it was my permission slip. The morning after the vow renewal, I woke up in bed next to Eli and felt like I was lying beside a stranger. His arm draped over me like everything was intact, like the words we spoke the night before still held weight. But in my mind, it was already over. The ceremony had been a funeral, not a celebration. He got up and made breakfast. Pancakes, eggs, orange juice, our Sunday ritual. He kissed my forehead while the coffee brewed. Said, We did good, huh? I nodded, swallowed bile. It was surreal how normal he acted. Like betrayal wasn't breathing through our walls. Like I didn't already have the footage of him smiling while cheating. I stayed silent. Not because I was afraid, because I wanted to study him. How effortlessly he pretended. How the lies didn't just come out of his mouth. They lived in it. I needed to understand how far someone could go while still calling it love. My mom texted me nonstop. Sent me screenshots of her filming the kiss. Captioned them with hearts. She meant well, but it broke me in places I didn't even know were cracked. Because she loved him. She believed in him. And I couldn't tell her yet. Not until I knew how to survive what would come next, I went through the rest of the week in autopilot. Laundry. Emails, dinner. I smiled in public, laughed at inside jokes. But inside, I was ash, cold, detached. Every night, I laid awake, playing back the footage of him. The kiss, the vows, the way he looked at me with eyes full of performance. He still texted Taylor. He didn't know I'd synced his messages to an old iPad. Every "miss you already," every "she's distracted, I'm thinking of you," felt like another pin in my chest. I didn't cry. I documented. I read each lie like scripture, preparing, strengthening. The worst part was how easily he compartmentalized. He'd kiss me and tell Taylor I'm just surviving the show. He was performing love for me while starring in a second act I never got to read the script for. It was theatrical emotional abuse, curated and cruel. I tried to tell Lex, my cousin. She said, "No, not Eli. He loves you." That sentence shattered something. Because if this was love, what the hell was hate? I realized then, people don't always mean to gaslight you. Sometimes they're just so wrapped in the version of your life you showed them. They can't accept the truth when it changes. I started keeping a journal. Not a feelings one, a record of lies, times, receipts, dates, every manipulation. Every time he told me I was imagining things. Every time he came home later than he said. I wrote it all down, not because I was unraveling, but because I was preparing to rebuild. He didn't notice I stopped reaching for him in bed, that I stopped saying I love you first, that I was folding his laundry with the hands of a woman already gone. He thought silence meant forgiveness, but it didn't. It meant war. They broke me so quietly I almost believed I was fine. But quiet is just what survival sounds like before it turns into fire. There's something eerie about uncovering betrayal with Wi-Fi and silence. I didn't need confrontation. I needed clarity, proof, the kind that doesn't blink. So I became methodical, cold, obsessed with digital footprints. If Eli wanted to lie through smiles, I'd let the data speak instead. First, the synced iPad. His texts to Taylor were the blueprint, but the real story lived in the details. Dates, locations. I cross-referenced timestamps with his calendar excuses. Late, meeting, boys' night, work drinks. All lies. He wasn't even creative. Just cocky. Then I dug deeper. Hotel websites. Loyalty programs. He used the same login for everything. Our dog's name. Classic narcissist move. I logged into his account and there it was. 3 different stays. Same hotel. Always under business expense. Always booked under his initials and one guest. Room 417. Room 307. Room 214. I matched the receipts with dates he kissed me goodbye. My hands didn't shake anymore. They typed fast, controlled. I was past pain. This was clarity, pure and sharp. I opened our shared cloud drive. Found a folder, labeled Archives. Thought it was old work stuff. It wasn't. It was screenshots, voice notes, messages from Taylor. Some from me, juxtaposed, like he was collecting parallel realities, a digital diary of dual lives. It was sociopathic. The voice notes were the worst. Taylor saying, "Does she know how gone you already are?" Him replying, "She's still in the fairy tale. I'm writing the ending." I played it twice, then saved it, labeled it, "The Real Vows." I created a document, 60 pages, screenshots, logs, dates, notes. I even found Venmo transactions for coffee, wine, Uber rides to her place. One was labeled, "Thank you." That was 4 days before our anniversary dinner. He erased browser history, but he couldn't erase timestamps or the truth behind every swipe. My mom still sent pictures from the renewal. "You both look so happy." I didn't respond. I couldn't lie anymore. But I couldn't tell her yet. Not until I had everything lined up. Not until I could deliver the truth in a way no one could spin. One night, I found an email thread. Him and Taylor, planning a trip. Mexico, in August. He wrote, "We'll say it's a company retreat." I almost laughed. He was planning a second honeymoon with someone else while toasting to forever with me. That was the moment I stopped feeling like the victim and started feeling like the architect. I backed up everything on a hard drive in the cloud, printed copies in case he tried to wipe it. I wasn't just protecting myself anymore. I was preparing for liberation. I was done being the woman who waited for honesty. I was about to become the woman who delivered truth like thunder. I didn't need a stage. He already built one. All I had to do was let the audience see the real script. Eli wanted to be celebrated, adored, applauded for his loyalty and love. So I gave him exactly what he asked for. One final scene. It was our post-renewal dinner. A celebration brunch with close friends and family. Casual, curated, just enough intimacy for exposure to sting. My mom helped organize it. She thought it was closure. A new chapter. She had no idea it was the last page. Everyone came glowing, complimenting the ceremony, the photos, the vows. Eli soaked it up like a performer in his final act. He kept holding my hand, brushing my cheek, playing the part. I let him. Because a lie looks best right before it crumbles. I stood up halfway through brunch, tapped my glass. "I just want to say a few words," I said, smiling. Eli leaned back, proud. My mom lifted her phone to film. Of course she did. She wanted to capture love. I started slow. This past week has been one of reflection. Revisiting our vows reminded me of why we chose each other. People nodded. My mom wiped a tear. But revisiting also taught me something else. That love without honesty is performance. Eli shifted. I saw his brow tighten. I reached into my bag, pulled out the binder, slim, white, labeled, Forever Files. I opened it. So today, I wanted to share the full story. Not the Instagram version, the real one. I passed it to my mom first. You should see it first. You filmed the kiss. It's only fair you know what he was hiding under it. Silence. Sharp. Still. My mom opened the folder. Her smile faded. Slowly. Her eyes moved across hotel receipts, messages, screenshots of texts. Taylor's name bold, at the top. I watched the betrayal spread across her face like ink in water. She looked up at Eli. You were cheating on her?" Gasps from the table. A fork hit the floor. Eli stood up, stammering. "Jade, what are you doing?" I turned to him. Calm. Final. "You renewed our vows in public. So I'm ending this performance in public." Taylor wasn't there, but her name was everywhere. And the audio files played. Clearly on the Bluetooth speaker Lex synced for me. His voice. Taylor's. The truth. Undeniable, raw, echoing through a brunch meant for celebration. He begged me to stop. Said we should talk privately. I just smiled. You didn't cheat privately. Why should the truth be any different? He left. Red-faced. Humiliated. My mom sat frozen. Then hugged me. Hard. Whispered. I didn't know. I swear. I didn't. No. I told her I believed her. Because I did. She didn't betray me. He did. And now, everyone knew. He renewed our vows in public. So I ended the performance with a standing ovation he never saw coming. After the reveal, things didn't end in flames. There was no screaming, no public meltdown. Just silence. The kind that only follows when truth has done its job. Eli disappeared. Into a friend's guest room, I think. Into his own shame. I didn't chase. I didn't block. I just moved on. My mom took down all the photos, quietly, respectfully. She never said, I'm sorry I loved him too. She didn't need to. Her eyes said it every time she looked at me. She stopped playing the vow renewal video, stopped asking if we could fix it. She finally saw the man behind the mask. People talked, whispered. Some reached out with apologies for ever idolizing our relationship. Others said I was too dramatic, that I didn't need to do it that way. But I stopped needing their approval. Because when you've been gaslit long enough, telling the truth is its own kind of healing. Taylor disappeared too, at least from our world. No texts, no apologies. I didn't expect one. She got the man she betrayed me with. I got the freedom she probably still doesn't know how to recognize. I filed for separation. Quietly, with no fanfare. No lawyers battling it out. Just me, reclaiming what was mine. My name, my space, my voice. Eli tried to call once. I didn't pick up. There's nothing left to say when every sentence has been a lie. I repainted the bedroom, got rid of the bedding. We picked out together, bought new sheets, black, bold, soft. Lex helped me hang lights around the mirror. I looked at myself one night, barefaced, in a robe, and whispered, "You're still here." And I smiled. I started journaling again, not documenting lies, writing dreams, real ones, plans, not rooted in someone else's potential, just mine. I signed up for a pottery class, started running, slept diagonally on the bed, no apologies for taking up space. I made a new folder on my computer. This one was labeled Resurrection. Inside it, photos of me laughing again, voice memos of affirmations, a copy of the paperwork that removed his name from everything. It wasn't revenge. It was rebirth. The vow renewal video is still saved on my mom's phone. I didn't ask her to delete it. One day, maybe I'll watch it again. Not to mourn, to remember how far I've come, how a woman can stand at the altar, betrayed, and still hold herself with grace. Eli thought he shattered me, but all he did was free me to rebuild, without him in the frame. And this time I'm not waiting for anyone to write my vows. I'm writing my own story,